Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the Writer's Room. I'm your host, Kat, the night editor, and with me this evening is my co-host.
As always, Jay Ishiro Finney, author and alien in a human suit.
And tonight we have a very special guest, Richard Paolinelli. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, you are.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
So
we didn't even practice. That's good. That's right.
I'm a natural. No. So tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a writer with a very long history, which we could probably burn up the whole hour just talking about my resume. But I'll give you the shortened version. I was a sports writer for over 20 years.
Oh my.
Yeah, about 2010, I looked at the landscape and realized that going out and covering games until 1 in the morning probably wasn't going to produce much more for me. So I stepped out of the business about 2013 and kind of got inspired by Jack McDivitt, who is a very good sci-fi writer who retired at about the same age I was doing this. And they went on to have a really good fiction writing career. So I figured, well, if Jack could do it, I don't really have an excuse not to try. So for the last 8 years, I've been writing novels, and I have actually lost count of how many novels I have. I think it's over, I want to say about 12 now, with a whole bunch of short stories and anthologies. So I've been busy the last 8 years.
And from what I understand, not a single one of those novels is woke. Am I correct?
That is correct. And if I ever write a woke novel, I've given friends permission to come and slap me upside the head, and whatever it takes. But yeah, I don't like writing that style of book. So you're not going to get a woke book out of me.
So why don't you tell us what kind of stuff you do write?
I'm kind of multi genre. I really write what I like to write and what I like to read, which is mostly science fiction. I do some. I have written one Western with my co-publisher at Tuscany Bay Books, Jim Christina, which you can see kind of over my head, The Last Lonely Trail. I've written a mystery thriller series. And then I've got a couple sports nonfiction books because I just couldn't quite quit sports when I first left. So I got those out of the way early. So, I like to stretch myself. I like to write in different areas. So I don't get bored with writing. So by doing that, I kind of keep everything fresh.
Very cool.
Definitely.
So I think to start with then, let's talk about your most current work, which is Galen's Way,
Mhm.
and how it connects to apparently this series by John C. Wright called the StarQuest Saga.
Yeah. John C. Wright, who is a very accomplished science fiction fantasy author, created what he calls the StarQuest saga. And it's, if you want to boil it down, it's Star Wars, not Star Wars. It's kind of Star Wars the way John would have done it. And he moved the human race from the Milky Way galaxy to the Andromeda galaxy for this.
Oh.
And it's set way in the future. The reason for the move is an alien race comes in and transplants everybody ahead of a dark force that is sweeping into the Milky Way and destroying everything it touches. There's no defense against it other than just get everybody out. So the StarQuest saga picks up in the Andromeda galaxy. We haven't pinned down a time frame yet. It could be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years in our future. And by this time, the human race there call themselves hominids, and they have completely forgotten their origins in the Milky Way. To them, the Milky Way is a myth, so similar to the lost city of Atlantis to us. So we pick up there, and he's developed 12 ages in StarQuest. He's going to write in the 12th, which takes place way in the future. But he developed a Bible for this that is really detailed. So what's going on in all 12 ages, which species is where, what they're doing, what's going on, how this leads up to the 12th age where he's going to write in. So when he developed it, he wanted to open it up to other authors to come in and basically play in his sandbox. The caveat is that you have to submit your manuscript first and let them look over and make sure you're not going off in some strange direction or going to be in direct conflict with what's going on in what's been set. So for me, I decided I wanted to sit in the fourth age where the human race still thinks that they're the only species out there. They have no idea all these other species in the Andromeda Galaxy are there. And that was in part so I wouldn't have to worry about creating a new alien species or doing something that was going to mess up John down the line. And I figured I could keep busy enough just trying to keep what was going on with the humans in my fourth age going without having to worry about all that. So it kind of stems from his desire to build a sci-fi fantasy universe that is open to a lot of different authors to come in, and we built this connected universe that no matter where in StarQuest you're going to jump in, once we get more stories in, you could start in fourth age, or you can start in seventh, or you can start in 12th. And no matter where you start and you read, it's all going to connect so that later on, if you want to back up and go into fourth where I'm at, it'll make sense. It'll connect. There won't be these plot holes where you're going, well, no, wait a minute, how could they be doing this if this happened back here, type of thing, which makes for an interesting juggling act. But I think it's going to make for a really fantastic series that, you know, give us a few years down the line, and it's going to be pretty big.
Excellent.
This sounds awesome. And how long has this been going on for?
Well, John was on my podcast back when I had one back in 2018, and he and his wife brought this up. And I had a space opera story that was in my to get around to one of these days folder. And as we were talking about it, it dawned on me that what I had in there would just be a perfect fit for what John was doing in StarQuest. And so I got the Bible from him, started looking through it, and dialed it into where the fourth age would be, where this would work. And I could do a lot of things in the fourth age because how it's going to end, there's no way anything that I've done is going to carry forward to the 12th in a way that it would mess up what John's doing. So it was just one of these, you know, it looked like a perfect fit. So I put together an outline, I sent it in. He and Chaji looked it over and they said, yeah, it looks good so far. So I wrote the thing and I sent that back in and let them go over it. And I think there was only one small little area where I had come into conflict with what was going to happen. And it was like 2 lines. And I'm like, okay, rewrite that. We're good. So Galen's Way was born.
Well, you obviously had no problem, or there was no conflict with you absolutely blowing up the earth in an incredibly epic way within the first few pages.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it jumps back to a guy at a diner, I believe.
You're talking about Escaping Infinity.
Oh, I read the wrong one.
No, that's okay. That's okay, because that was my first real attempt at science fiction. I mean, okay. I wrote Maelstrom, but that was, I don't really count that as my first one because I had to go back and rewrite it. But with Escaping Infinity, and it's funny you bring this up. I blow up the earth in the first paragraph, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just this really epic description where you just keep going on and on about all the things happening.
Yeah, so I have no problem with these big catastrophic things, but what was hilarious was somebody wrote a review about that, and they said, yeah, he blows up the earth in the first page, and somehow manages to make it okay. I love it, and that was the whole point of that book, was how the earth came to be destroyed and how the person responsible for it redeems himself. And in a way, that was the same theme that ran through Maelstrom, which was the first one I wrote. There's that redemption theme that seemed to be going through it. And in a way, Galen's Way is kind of that way too. I mean, I don't blow up the earth. I almost blow up a planet, but that happens, later in the book. But there's a little bit of redemption for the primary character. And that's a theme I like to explore.
The other thing, and I don't think I'm really ruining anything for the audience here, is I like the reason the Earth got destroyed, and it was strictly the captain of an alien vessel was a jerk. It was really just that simple.
Yeah, he wanted to. I think his intentions were good. I think they were good. I don't think he went out and said, you know what, this is my last voyage. We're gonna blow up a planet just for fun. I don't think that was in his thought process. But yeah, I mean, it's, if you're gonna change your flight plan, maybe put a little bit more effort into making sure nothing's going to be in the way when you do it. Just safety first.
I remember the line saying, it said him doing it strictly out of vanity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I'm suddenly flashing on Fourth Doctor, Doctor Who, second piece of The Key to Time, The Pirate Planet, written by Douglas Adams.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I can live with that. Yeah.
Okay. And you know what I'm talking about, so you're awesome.
Hey, the Fourth Doctor is the only Doctor as far as I'm. Well, that and the War Doctor.
The War Doctor.
The rest of John Hurt. The rest of them are pretenders. That should set some people off. No, I grew up. My first Doctor was the Fourth Doctor, and I consumed every week on our local PBS channel when they showed it. I was there. I didn't care what else was going on. You could tell me if you show up at this time at this place, we'll give you $1 million. And I'm like, nope, sorry, Doctor Who's on.
Well, that was a great run. That was a great run.
Yeah,
it was an excellent run, in fact.
And in a way, the Fourth Doctor and the stories there, and the science fiction I read growing up. I mean, it kind of shaped the way I approach writing my stories, and the way I tell them, and the way I plot them out, and how I have them end. I always look for that. Doctor Who is, no matter how bad things were at the end, you felt like it was going to be okay. We're going to be all right.
Well, you knew that the Fifth Doctor was a fake.
Yeah.
Absolute fake. That was not the Doctor.
No.
Okay, so regarding Galen's Way, give us the short pitch. What's it about?
Basically, it's about Galen Dwin, who is a mercenary who left military service after he got a little sick and tired of being tortured. And the military said, no, you can't leave. We're going to send all these ships after you. And then they stopped doing that when all they got back were dead bodies and broken ships. They figured, well, let's leave this guy alone. So he's become a mercenary, and he is hired to rescue a princess who has been kidnapped by the chamberlain of the court on this planet. And they want to keep it all quiet because they don't want it known that their princess can be kidnapped quite so easily. So the catch is the planet she's being held on is surrounded by a minefield of asteroids that no person in his right mind would dare try to penetrate to get to the planet underneath that shield, except if your name's Galen Dwin and you just do this because you're kind of a badass that way. So he takes the job because the guy who is responsible for the kidnapping is someone he has a bit of a beef with, and he would be more than delighted to not only rescue the princess but resolve the old issue with this guy, with the sidearm. So basically, he's gone there to kill the guy, and they're quite all right if he does that too. Once he gets there, though, he finds out that there's not just one kidnapped princess, there is 4, and it is a trap set for him, so that when he shows up, there is an explosion that kills them all, and he's blamed as the kidnapper and triggers a war that will overthrow the existing alliance of planets so that a new empire can be installed, and it will not be a good empire. So he avoids the trap. He rescues the princesses. He returns all of them except for one, and she is the daughter of the man who has planned all this all along. So obviously he can't go back with her because, this is the guy who just tried to kill him and her. So the rest of the book is basically Galen trying to figure out how to keep her alive and how to stop this empire from getting started. Despite the fact that everybody in the Andromeda Galaxy thinks he's a kidnapper and is trying to overthrow the Alliance. So there's a lot of intrigue here. There's a lot of him just trying to keep, just doing what he can to keep him alive. And then toward the end, he does confront the person he thinks is responsible for all this, and then he finds out otherwise.
Okay, Kat. As the Star Wars fanatic, or at least original Star Wars, you
Yes.
have no love for anything after Jedi.
Not really, no. Although I love the expanded universe.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
How does this play with you, since this is Star Wars but not Star Wars?
Well, I'm sorry. Is that for Kat? That was for Kat.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say this sounds amazing. I mean, I've actually been wanting more things to fill that gap because I think I've tapped out the expanded universe. And I also have to say that I really appreciate that what you have is political intrigue, not, oh my God, the fate of the universe is going to completely explode and all reality as you know it is going to cease to exist unless our one hero does something about it. I hate those plots. So Thank you for having it be more political intrigue and, and also, good guys versus bad guys. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's very space opera. I mean, you're going to have, as we progress into the next book, which is coming out in April, you're going to have people thinking that they have averted this threat to the Alliance, and we're going to find out that it's just getting started. There is a character who you think has been dealt with, who has not, and is going to actually trigger. I don't want to give away too much, but he's going to trigger what would have happened had Galen not survived the trap. So he's eventually going to trigger that, and then what you're going to have is this empire is going to come. It's going to get a foothold, and then the rest of the series for my fourth age will be them trying to get rid of this empire, reestablish the Alliance. It's not going to be everything works out great for everybody. They're going to take some losses and they're going to have to retreat here and there. It's a lot like I'd say at the end of Empire Strikes Back, when you thought, oh my God, Han's frozen, Luke's lost a hand. There's chaos everywhere. It looks like the Empire's winning. We'll have moments like that because that's just real life. You don't always win. You don't always have everything go right. It's how the characters react and respond, and how they continue the fight against what is basically evil. The Empire is evil. It wants to dominate. It wants to enslave. It wants to make things bad for the people underneath. So it's a lot like Star Wars in that sense, in that you're going to have heroes who step up and do things. There's going to be sacrifices. I mean, I'm hoping, at least in fourth age, that a lot of people see Star Wars in the expanded universe.
Well, I'm sold, quite frankly.
I will say this. I want to tease this. If you've read Galen's Wife, there's a character named Cassandra. Keep an eye on Cassandra.
Does she live up to her name?
Yeah. But her story arc, I know, because I surprised Jaji with this when I told her what I'm up to. I know nobody is seeing this coming, what I'm going to do with Cassandra.
Nice. Okay. I like these twists. And again, I'm legitimately excited about a series. I don't read much fiction lately, unfortunately. For the past year, I've been steering away from it because all of it is either woke or it's the fate of everything. It rests in our heroes and very Marvel expanded universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited that I now have a book to check out.
Well, Kat, Galen's Way is available on audio.
Oh, Where's my phone?
Are you going to buy it right now?
Yes, I am.
Well, sir, you've just made a sale.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you. My depleted wallet thanks you.
and let me tell you, if you've managed to impress the night editor, as she's known,
Oh, my bullshit detector is really high.
she-
So
she's vicious when it comes to these pitches. So usually it's like, whatever. So no, this speaks very, very well of it.
Well, good. Good.
where are you?
In the meantime, aside from your own books, you run a publishing house, correct?
Yes, I do. Yeah, Tuscany Bay Books.
And what can you tell me about Tuscany Bay?
Well, it kind of came about. I was a guest on a show called The Writer's Block on LA Talk Radio. And the host of the show and I wound up, we discovered that we live, I think at the time we were about a mile apart in this town in Southern California. And so we got to talking, and he brought me on as a guest co-host a couple of times. And it just kind of, we kind of became friends. And one day we were discussing publishing and how we both wound up being indie publishers. And we had our own publishing imprint. Mine at the time was Tuscany Bay Publishing, and his was Black Dog Publishing. And we just kind of decided, hey, first off, we wanted to write that book, The Last Lonely Trail. And as we were talking about that, we figured, well, since we're collaborating on a book, why don't we combine our two publishing imprints into one? We made it Tuscany Bay Books. But if you look on our logo on the moon, that's on our logo, you'll see the initials BDP for Black Dog Publishing. So that way both of them are on. And we wanted to do that so that we could publish our books under one imprint, but also to publish other authors' books under that imprint. And we had a very specific idea in mind where we would sign an author under a 1-year contract, which could be renewed or not by either party. But the thing we wanted to do was get their book out and let them see the process that you have to go through to publish your own book. And then give them the option, if they felt comfortable to do it, for their next book to go out and either have us publish it for them or to publish it themselves. And we have 2 authors that have gone after the 1 year and gone on their own and done their own thing. And they seem to be doing really well. I mean, we apparently trained them well. Our young Padawans have gone off and done well.
Right.
But that's what we want to see. We want to see people succeed in indie publishing. And by the way we have it set up, we kind of give you a little training run. And at the end of the year, we take the wheels off and off you go.
That's excellent. Well, as someone who is a mentor to young authors, what is some advice you would give to anyone who's looking to promote their book, their first book?
Yeah, whether you are traditionally publishing or you are indie publishing, this applies to everybody. Don't think just because you wrote the book and typed those words at the end that your work is done, because technically, in reality, you've done the easy part of this process. You wrote the book. And people look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm not. You really got done with an easy section. Now you got to get out there and you've got to find an editor who knows what they're doing. You're going to have to get it formatted, and that's not an easy process to do. You're going to have to get a book cover, and I've seen some, and I'm sure Kat has too. Some god awful book covers. So you're going to find somebody who has good book covers. And that all is going to cost money. And then, as if that's not hard enough, after you've done all that and you get it out on Amazon or however you put it out there, then the really hard part comes, because you got to start doing what I'm doing now. You've got to go out and you've got to go on podcasts, you've got on radio shows, and you've got to do magazine and online and newspaper interviews. And you have to market your book in a way that people, like Kat just did a minute ago, wow, that sounds great, I want to buy that book.
Well,
so you've got to do all that. And so the best advice I give them is, don't think that you're going to coast after you get the book written, because now you start working.
Okay, in this day and age, with unfortunately the woke seizing control of so much of media, it is difficult to find podcasts and publications for that kind of promotion to occur. Where do you look?
Well, actually, in the case of this show, I actually had another author say, "Hey, look, there's this podcast and they're looking for people, and I think you'd be perfect for it." So I reached out to you guys, and here I am. That's kind of what you have to do. You're going to have to go find the authors who are writing the kind of books you read and see where they're popping up at. Just and trust me, every author who does something like this is going to be shouting it to the rooftops. I'm on this show, or I'm on this podcast, or I did this interview. So go to the person running that interview or that show or whatever the case may be and say, "Hey, I'm an author similar to the person you just had on. Love to come on and talk about what I'm doing. What is your process to be a guest on your show?" And just kind of go from there. And if you guys are like most of the podcasts I've been on, you are really wanting people to reach out and be on the show. So I would say 99% of the time, you're going to get, "Hey, yeah, we'd love to have you on. Come on."
Yeah, let me tell you, it has been nigh impossible to find contact information for Jaggy.
I might be able to help you out there. I think I can take care of you on that one.
Okay, well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
And that's the other thing with indie publishing is understand the other indie publishers out there are not your competition. And that's something I want the authors to understand is we are all in this together as indies. So we need to help each other out.
That is one thing that I have found so many people overlook or don't understand. Coming from the comics industry, that was a real problem. Everyone thought they were fighting for shelf space. There was this notion of you had to run everyone else out of town, that people didn't help each other out, essentially. And really, when one of us does well, publishing material that supposedly no one wants, the better it's going to be for everyone else.
Yeah. It's funny because I guess people are looking at it through the old business prism of, you have to be better than your competition. You have to kind of you have to downgrade your competition to people to get them to come to you instead. And here it's completely opposite. It's like, if you like what I've written, people are going to look at Galen's Way and they're going to go, "Okay, well, this is great. So let me go look and see what John C. Wright is doing." In this case, John hasn't released his Star Quest books yet. So hang on, give him a few more months and he'll have his out. Through some strange set of circumstances, I got mine out first. But what we're hoping is that people will read mine and they'll gravitate toward what John puts out. And the reverse is true. People are going to hopefully read John's 12th age stuff and go, "Oh, there's all these other ages. Well, let me go see what they're doing, in 4th or 7th or, whatever, wherever everybody kind of lands as we sort this out." So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'm hoping people read an anthology I'm in and decide to come and check out my books, or they read the anthology and they find an author or two in there to go check out. That's the whole thing that we've been doing with the books we put out, is to try to not only help our author, but everybody else that we're connected with.
Well, that's another question I have for you, because we came from a comics background, but about a year or two ago, I made the switch to prose, something I had originally done as a hobby. I professionally went to prose the moment the industry collapsed. And when it was a hobby, it was not hard to find anthologies to submit to. These days, having a white person's last name nixes you from like 90% of the open calls I've seen.
Yeah,
well, you can pretend you're me and a female.
Yeah. So, I mean, how does one find these anthologies?
We unfortunately we just did a whole bunch of them, and we're kind of gravitating away for now. I think we kind of got the market kind of got flooded. We did the Planetary Anthology series, which was 11 volumes, had 194 stories by 90 different authors over the 11 books. So you got, if you want to go find some people to read, go read those 11 books, and they're on sale 99 cents each right now. Go check those out. You're going to find 90 authors in there that are fantastic to read, who have books out. So the anthologies are great for new authors to get into, but like you said,
how do you find them?
Yeah, people are getting away from, like I said, we almost flooded the market, I think, there for a while. So, the only thing you can do is get into writers groups. I just did an anthology connected to Escaping Infinity because I wanted to open up my sandbox and see if some other authors could come in and see what they would do with that universe. And, I think we had 8 stories. And it was really nice because a lot of the stories that they submitted kind of helped set up the next book in the Infinity series for me next year. But I would just keep getting into writers groups, keep an eye on it. People will jump in there and say, "Hey, look, I'm doing an anthology," or "There's an anthology looking for people." They're few and far between. Sorry,
what's some groups you would recommend?
If you want to go on Facebook, there are science fiction and fantasy writers groups. Off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank, but just do a search for science fiction, fantasy writers, and the groups will jump up. Pop in there, join the group, keep your eyes open. There's a lot of people talking back and forth about, I'm doing this, or I heard about that. And that's really, you kind of have to work at it and just keep at it, and don't expect to hop on there and see 6 or 7 anthologies listed. That's not going to happen. It's going to take a while.
Well, I'm trying to get people to join up on Minds, the Wordcraft group, which is supposed to be the same thing. So hopefully we can get that going on Minds at least.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are we going to pick up Trenton's question here?
Yes, I was just about to read it. Trenton asks, as someone who loves sci-fi but has been missing my Clancy-like intrigue books, which of yours would you recommend for that itch? Galen's Way or Escaping Infinity?
Definitely Galen's Way, because that's got the political intrigue. Escaping Infinity is more of a mystery. Why can't I find an exit out of this hotel? Why does tomorrow never come? So that's more of a mystery. Whereas Galen's Way, that is set up for political intrigue. It's going to weave its way through all the books. There's always going to be that element to it. But if you want to jump into something that's similar to Clancy of mine, then you want to go to the Del Rio series, which is a mystery thriller series with a lot of political intrigue. The second book is Betrayals, and it's set in Washington, D.C., and you've got this old plot from the Soviet Union in the 1940s that's coming into fruition now, and our hero has to figure out who he can trust, who he shouldn't trust, and how he's going to stop this. So if you're looking for pure intrigue, that's the series to go to. But in sci-fi, it's definitely Galen's Way.
Okay, let me throw up a link for the Betrayal series so you guys can
go to Reservations first, because that introduces the main character, and it also starts dropping some breadcrumbs for what's coming.
Okay, here we go.
If I could go extendo arms, I could reach the book, but it's a little out of range right now.
Well, here you go. This is a link to all 3 of the books on Amazon. So there you go, sir. All right.
And book 4 is coming out maybe at the end of 2022 if life will quit going crazy on me and I can finish it.
I think we're all there.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, every writer has their own pace, and there's been a lot of talk on how fast you should be able to put out a book, or all of that. About how long does it take you to go from first word to sending it off to be published?
The quickest I've done it is 1 month.
Oh, wow.
This year, between COVID and my father passing a couple of months back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my production schedule was 4 books this year. I'm going to get 2 out. So, but it's just, I think all you can do is just try to do what you can as you can. Don't worry about the self-imposed deadlines. Of course, I say that, and Galen's Blade, I've got to get the final edit done in the next 13 days. So, I'm a really good one for listening to my own advice. But I think just write at the pace that you're comfortable with. There's no set in stone. You have to do it in this time frame. You're going to have to go through the editing process. That can take some time. Getting everything together and then getting it out onto the platforms, that takes a little while as well. And don't even get me talking on what it takes to get an audiobook out.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother can of worms. But for me, if nothing crazy is going on in the world, I can do a book start to finish out the door in a month. I just can't get life to leave me alone long enough to do that.
So you're able to churn out a book in 1 month.
Yes.
That's skill.
That was the fastest one. And it just, everything fell into place. I got the book written actually in a week, sent it off to the editor, got the edits back, got it done, sent it back, got another round of edits done. As she was doing that, I was putting together the book cover, got everything set up on Amazon. So when she got it back, I did the formatting and uploaded, and off we went. And that was In Games. That was the last book of the Del Rio series. So if anybody reads it In Games, they go, boy, that was crappy. Maybe I went a little too fast.
Well, no, that actually makes perfect sense. If it's the third in a series,
yeah,
you've already taken care of all the stuff that you usually put into a first act.
yes.
You don't have to establish who the character is, get the reader to know who he is. You don't need to set a lot of stuff up.
Yeah.
You can just get right to the story.
Yeah. Now, it took me from concept to finish on Escaping Infinity, just to show you the other end of it. I actually had the first original idea back in 2005, and I released it in 2017.
So a little bit longer.
But that was the first book. And you'll find as you write, or at least I did, with each book, the process gets a little quicker for you because you've got this routine that you can get yourself into, and it's easier to do it. And you've learned enough that you can apply to what you're doing with the next book. And that's the biggest thing that you're going to learn. You're going to find out is you will, even if you switch from, like I did, sci-fi to murder mysteries,
right?
You're going to learn things in sci-fi that you can apply to the murder mysteries, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So it's that learning process. The more you do it, the quicker you're going to get, and so you can do that. It's just I like to take a little bit more time now. I think just to kind of make sure I'm getting everything the way I want it the first time around, instead of 3 or 4 edits later going, oh, okay, that's what I want to do.
And Yang asked if you mainline coffee.
Nope. This stuff.
You mainline Coke.
The drinking kind,
not the powder.
Yeah, not the powder. Now, usually when I'm going to power write, it's Dr. Pepper.
Nice.
Yeah, I need that extra boost of caffeine. But the only time I ever did that, a power writing session, was back on Reservations, and I had a chapter that was very difficult to write, and I was fighting with myself as I was writing it, because I knew what was going to happen at the end of the chapter, and I wasn't sure I wanted it to happen. So I'm slowing down my writing because I'm still trying to argue myself out of where I'm going. I think that whole writing session was 16 hours straight.
Oh, geez.
And it covered an entire chapter. And, I got done with it and I was exhausted. I sent it to my editor, actually my beta reader, because I just wasn't sure yet if I had done it right. And I get this email first thing in the morning, chewing me out for what I'd done. I was every name of the book. And then the next email, which was like 10 seconds after the first, was, by the way, that was the perfect way to do it. Good job.
That's what you always want to hear.
Yeah.
Well,
but the reaction I got was, it was a reaction to the death of a character. So they had connected to that character so much that the death impacted them as if it was a real person. And that's what you're shooting for when you create these characters, is that they'll connect with the reader.
Unless it's misery.
Yeah.
Okay. So since you are a publisher of books as well as a writer, is there anyone currently on your roster that you would like to suggest to our audience?
Well, actually, we are going to be releasing in January the first book of a series by Declan Finn. It's a series he wrote when he was 16 years old. So it's, back in the day, and he's obviously gone in and kind of worked on it a little bit. But we are really excited about this. It's the White Ops series. They are all the first 3 are available for pre-order. They come out January 18th, February 15th, and March 15th of next year. It follows Sean Patrick Ryan, and it is space opera as well. And we're really excited about bringing that up and getting that out there. And I think everybody's going to enjoy them. I love the covers, but then I was part of the creative team on the cover, so I'm kind of getting away with patting myself on the back. And then we have a book coming out by a reporter in Los Angeles, works for KNX Radio, named Bob Brill, and it's a murder mystery that is set in Ventura. And it looks very intriguing, and we're eager to get that one out as well. So we're busy. We are very, very busy with some book releases coming up in the first half of 2022.
Well, since you brought up Declan Finn, I feel it is necessary to tell the audience that coming up on December 1st, Declan will be joining us on the Writers' Room to talk about his books, and we will definitely ask him.
Yep. He can tell you more about White Ops than I can, so we'll let him tell that story. But it's an amazing looking series. He's already got. He was asking me the other day if we wanted him to send the next 3, and I went, "Well, hang on, guy. I love the enthusiasm, but let's get these out, and then we'll start looking at the next 3. So now that they're basically up for pre-order and ready to go, I'm gonna have to get a hold of him and say, okay, send me the next 3. Let's go.
That's great, and that's great that he's got already in the can, so many books for you.
I think he's got, I want to say 11 total, and that may be under. He's got this thing. I love the way he lays out a series. I've got the first 3, and then we'll see where I'm going after that. Declan's got, he's got from the beginning of time until Armageddon laid out. So, I wish I could do that. I haven't quite gotten myself organized enough to do that just yet.
But I do appreciate that you said both him and yourself, you lay out your stories.
Yeah.
That is a huge pet peeve of mine. I've done shows on authors, lay out your stories, please.
Well, I basically have my starting chapter, and I write my ending chapter, and then I have a rough outline of what I want to happen in between, and then I go back to the end of the first chapter and off we go. And then I kind of, I've got that map that I'm following, but I allow for the occasional detours. I'm writing, I'm thinking, well, let's go over here and let's see if we did this. And as long as I got that anchor of the end chapter in sight, I can go off and do that and swing it back and bring it, as long as I've got everything going toward that end point. So you can, you don't have to lay out every chapter in great detail. If you're not that type of person, you can have a general outline, but just know where you're starting from and know where you're going.
Perfect. And have you ever run into a situation where your story's going and your story has decided to go in a different direction that you weren't intending?
Yep. There's a series I'm writing with my grandson called The Timeless. And the original idea was to have the main character be Captain Rock Congo. And there's a story that's way too long and may not be safe to tell on this show, behind the name of Rock, how Rock Congo gets named. But it was supposed to be him, and the protagonist was going to be Duchess Moran, who was an interstellar thief that Rock is kind of conscripted by the authorities to go after. That was supposed to be the main two characters. That was going to be the story is going to be told from Captain Rock Congo's point of view. I'm writing it, and all of a sudden, the first mate of the Timeless, which is the ship they sail on, takes over the story. He is telling the story, and by the time we get to the end of the series, he's going to kind of be the lead character in the story. And I don't know when that happened. He just kind of jumped in, and it's funny when I get done writing one of the stories. For a week afterwards, I catch myself talking like the first mate, who's Little John Singapore, and he's got the aye laddie, and that's me ship over there. So I'll catch it in emails, or when I'm talking, I'll be like, I'm going to get my book, and I'll be like, I'm going to get me book. I have no idea why this guy's gotten into my head, but whenever I do that, he's there, and he's kind of just taken over the whole series and gone with it. And it's, I have to admit, it's actually a better series that way.
Has he called anyone a scurvy dog yet?
No, but he's called some people some other things that isn't too pleasant. But no, not yet. Not yet.
Got any questions?
I'm thinking. Let's see here. Anything in the chat?
Well, as Kat looks for a comment, can I?
Yes.
I'm going to encourage all of you to go over to the Wordcraft channel, which is different than the Jayashiro channel.
If you're not there already.
And subscribe and hit the bell, because that is the channel that currently is not being censored by YouTube.
Yes.
So follow us there and listen to the shows there, because you'll probably get your notifications.
Yes.
There you go. One thing you and I were talking about before we went on was the difference between traditional and indie publishing. And I actually started out a traditionally published author. I don't know if do we have time to kind of get into that?
Oh, sure.
Okay. When I quit being a sports writer, and when I actually served as an online editor for a newspaper in Southern California up until the point they were going to shut down. And I took the job knowing that it was a 2-year gig and we're done. When I got done with that, and I had the idea for reservations, I wanted to go traditional. I wanted to, get an agent, which I did, have the agent find me a publisher, which she did, and then walk into a Barnes & Noble and see on the bookshelf my book. That was the plan. That was the dream. And I think that's what every new author is thinking when they go traditional route. Until you find out the seedier side of traditional publishing, and you realize you're doing all the marketing work.
Mm-hmm.
You really are. I mean, the publisher will have a newsletter that they send out, and they'll put the book up for you. And for that service, you're paying 85% of the royalties to the publisher. You're paying another 10% of the meager 15% you get. 10% of that goes to your agent, who basically has already done everything they're going to do by getting you a publisher. So I'm looking at this going, I'm doing all the work. I'm doing all the heavy lifting. I'm getting crumbs. I'm not even getting peanuts. I'm getting the peanut dust at the bottom of the bag. So what am I doing? The publisher went belly up, and it was through no fault of their own. It happens. We've seen a lot of publishing houses go under. It just, that's the nature of the business. And my agent and I weren't seeing eye to eye, and I'm thinking, I'm killing myself here. And I have happened to come across folks like Declan Finn and some other authors who were doing their own, and I'm thinking I can do this. I've got the ability. I did pagination when I was working at newspapers. I worked with Photoshop. I've got the basic skills to jump into this and learn what I don't already know. And my goodness, was there a lot that I learned. But I wanted to do it, to go indie, to do, if I'm going to do all the work, I want all the pay. I want all the money to come to my bank account. And the first book I went indie with was Escaping Infinity. And all it did was get, named to be a finalist for the Dragon Award in 2017. So I figure, okay, I'm onto something here. I think I can do this and I can make a run at it. And I've got to, and I went into it knowing this isn't going to be an overnight thing where I've got millions of dollars coming in. It's just going to take years, and it's still taking years. Yeah, I'm much further along now than I was then. I'm not where I'm at or where I want to be at yet. So there's a lot more work to do. But for me, making the jump from traditional to indie was the best decision I've ever made in my career. And I'm dating all the way back to the 80s when I started as a freelance writer. This was the one move that I will never regret. And if there are people out there who are thinking about going indie, if an old guy like me can toss caution to the wind and go do this, you can too. And you will find it rewarding. It will be a lot of hard work. You're going to have setbacks. That's life. Just don't quit and keep going. And I think more people are finding that out right now, that indie is the best way to do, because you don't have, we've talked a little bit about the woke. There are gatekeepers in publishing. And once you get on a list, I'm there.
Yeah.
You're on. You're never coming off. So why even put up with that? Why have to go through all the nonsense that's there when you can write what you want to write, make sure it's edited. You've got it. You just can't throw it out there. But make sure the product is as good as it can be, and put it out there, and you're going to find readers. Like you've mentioned, there are people who are starving for good content. The trick is just get your name out there, get your book out there, and get them to see it and have them come read it, and then keep producing that content they're looking for.
Back before the collapse of the comics industry, the decision for Kat and I to start our own company and go solo was strictly realizing, once we had actually done work on a mid-tier company that was very renowned, realizing the amount of work we were putting in. It's like, well, if I'm going to work this hard, it might as well be for me.
Well, basically, both of us buckled down and did the math, and it's like, really the only thing this company is giving us that we can't get ourselves, at least at that time, was a ticket to Comic-Con.
No, Diamond Distribution.
Oh yeah, Diamond Distribution,
which is still a cartel and not worth anybody's
No.
time.
Right.
But that industry is now completely gone.
Yeah.
Or might as well be.
But the way things are set up now with Amazon, and I don't just go through Amazon. I have there is a publishing website called Draft to Digital, and you upload your manuscript and they distribute it to everybody. Barnes and Noble, Apple, Kobo. I mean, there's some on there that I've never heard of before, but I'm getting royalty checks from. So, there are all these options for an indie to get out there, get their work out, and you don't have to spend a gazillion dollars to get it done. There's affordable ways to get your book or your comic book or your graphic novel or anything you're putting together to get it out there. And then it's just up to you to hustle out there and let people know and get them buying.
What's that service called again?
It's a Draft to Digital.
Draft to Digital.
And is it similar to like Ingram Spark?
I think Draft is trying to get into print, but for me, I just use them for the ebooks because they can get everything to everybody. It doesn't. You're not limited just to Amazon. The thing is, you have to make sure you don't check the enroll your new book into Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to go wide. And I have found, and some people have great page read numbers. I don't know how they do it. I haven't figured it out. I have found I make more money by going wide right off the bat. And that's the other thing. Don't just do what I do. Experiment a little bit. You're going to find some things work for you and some things don't. So don't waste your time on things that aren't working. Work on the stuff that is working and then try some other different things. I've done hit and miss. I actually found Lulu printing when Amazon went to hardcovers and they didn't include a lot of the authors into that option. And I wanted hardcovers. So I switched to Lulu to get my hardcovers out. Now that Amazon's letting me do hardcovers, I may have to switch back because it's cheaper. But that's part of the business. You got to adjust on the fly as new things come out.
Well, I would like to end this conversation with one other bit of advice for all of you out there who are aspiring authors or people doing it yourself and struggling. Here's the reality of the situation. That great contract that the major publishers would offer you, the amount of work that goes in, the amount of money you'll see for it in the long run. If you were to publish to just Kindle and Kindle alone and have 500 regular readers who buy everything you do, you'll make more money than you ever did with a major publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just 500 readers. You can do that. That is feasible.
And you don't have to worry about paying back the advance if you don't sell out the advance.
Oh, I don't even want to go down that path.
Fortunately, I never had a contract where there was an advance. I don't know how that would have worked out, but I wouldn't want that hanging over my head.
Well,
no.
let's finish off the night with.
All right. Well, again, where can people find your books?
Well, to spare you the torture of trying to type my last name, you can go to sci-fi-scribe.com. That's SCIFI scribe.com, all one word. You go there.
All in the chat, or all in the description, by the way.
Yeah. And you go there and you will find my website right at the very top. There's an area where my books are listed. You click on a book, you go to that page, and there are purchase links. I had somebody do this for me, so I'm not 100% sure if we're completely up to date yet, but you should be able to figure out how to order my books. They're on, everything I've done is on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, pretty much everywhere you can buy a book, print or ebook, you're going to find my books.
Perfect. And your publishing company as well?
Tuscany Bay Books, and that is TuscanyBayBooks.com. We're actually going to be, hopefully by the end of the month, revamping the website and moving it to our own server so we can make it a little bit better than it is. So yeah, keep an eye on it. We'll be doing some things.
About Tuscany Bay, for the listeners again, are you taking submissions?
Yes, we are. We have a submission form. You just click that, fill it out. Do not send us the whole book right off the bat. We've had that happen. Tell us a little bit about your book. If it's something for us that we're interested in seeing, we'll get back to you. In fact, I'm looking at one right now that was just submitted about 10 days ago. And we're actually going to have a meeting tomorrow and kind of bounce back and forth and see if we want to proceed with this one or not. We don't print every book that we get a submission for. We go through and make sure it's a book that's A, ready to go, and B, kind of fits what we're doing.
Perfect. All right, then. Well, thank you. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Richard, for joining us this evening. And yes.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Definitely.
And before we go, as always, I am going to suggest that you all go over to Amazon.com and pick up my novella, Scars. Mm-hmm. It's one of the few stories that is hard sci-fi, a story about trauma, and yet you won't feel terrible by the end of it. And it's probably the best buddy story you will ever read.
There you go.
Exactly. Well, thank you, everyone, once again for joining us this evening on The Writer's Room. Join us next week. Do we have a guest lined up for next week yet?
Not that I know
No?
of.
Then we will be talking about something really fun next week.
Maybe we'll do something really offensive.
Oh, that would be good.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.